Today, we're going to talk about a truly visionary thinker. I mean, this is a man whose ideas, forged over an entire lifetime, feel more urgent right now than ever before. This is the legacy of John B. Cobb Jr. So, who was he? Well, Cobb was a philosopher, a theologian, but he was also this incredible bridge builder. He connected worlds that usually stay pretty far apart, science and faith, East and West, theology and ecology. His thinking had such a huge impact that scholars in China actually gave him a special title, an eco-sage. That just shows you how much he shaped the global conversation about our planet's future. And he lived a life that almost spanned a full century. He passed away recently, just 6 weeks shy of his 100th birthday. And there's something so poignant about that. A whole lifetime, right to the very end, dedicated to trying to understand and heal our world. So this is the big question, right? How is it that a vision someone came up with 50 years ago is now being seen as one of our best roadmaps forward? That's really the core of what we're going to unpack today. It really all began with a question he posed, a very bold, very uncomfortable question he was asking long before most people were even thinking about it. Check this out. Back in 1971, Cobb published this book. It was totally groundbreaking. The very first book on environmental ethics written by a single author. He was literally decades ahead of the curve, sounding an alarm when most of the world was, frankly, still asleep at the wheel. And just look at that title. Is it too late? I mean, wow, he put the single biggest, most terrifying question of our time right there on the cover. And that question, it feels even more urgent today than it did 50 years ago. It's a heavy thought, right? It can feel kind of paralyzing, but Cobb's point was that we have to find the courage to actually ask it. So in Cobb's mind, what was the real root of the problem? It wasn't just about pollution or using up resources. No, he saw something deeper, something like an ideological sickness at the heart of our culture. And he gave it a name, economism. It's this worldview that basically treats endless economic growth as the ultimate goal, the highest good, no matter what the cost. It's the logic that gives us headlines about record profits, right next to headlines about record temperatures. For Cobb, this wasn't just an economic theory, it was more like a destructive religion. And this really lays out the two different paths we can take. On one side, you have economism, which just exploits the earth and, well, leads to destruction. But on the other side, Cobb proposed this powerful alternative he called earthism. And it's a total flip. It's a worldview that sees the earth not as a pile of resources, but as a sacred community that we are here to serve. So let's dig into this vision a little more. Because earthism wasn't just a critique of what's wrong. It was a constructive, really life-affirming path forward. It was a whole different way of living. This quote from Cobb himself, man, it just gets right to the heart of it. He argued that our deepest loyalty, our ultimate devotion, shouldn't be to a country or a religion or especially to economic growth. It should be to the earth itself, the living system that holds and sustains every single one of us. That is a massive spiritual and ethical shift. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, earthism means we have to shift our entire value system. We move from serving markets to serving life, from empowering giant corporations to empowering local communities. It's about valuing sustainability over endless consumption and seeing the earth as sacred. It's this fundamental shift from a mindset of domination to one of regeneration, from an ecosystem to an ecosystem consciousness. And this vision of earthism for Cobb, it wasn't just some personal philosophy. It was the actual foundation for an entirely new kind of human civilization. He was way ahead of the curve here. He was one of the very first and most influential champions of this idea of an ecological civilization. He didn't just see it as a nice idea. He saw it as a moral imperative, a planetary necessity, and a spiritual calling to create a society that could actually thrive in harmony with the natural world. And here are the building blocks. An ecological civilization completely reorders our priorities. Its whole foundation is the truth that everything is interconnected. It means you prioritize the health of the planet's living systems above just accumulating more capital. And it ensures that both science and policy are in service to wisdom and the common good, not just short-term profit. But here's the thing about Cobb. He wasn't just an ideas guy. He didn't just write books and leave it at that. He was a builder. He spent his entire life creating institutions to actually carry these ideas out into the world. I mean, just look at this timeline of his work. It's incredible. From founding the Center for Process Studies way back in the 70s to having this immense influence in China, where the government has actually written ecological civilization into its constitution, all the way to inspiring the Living Earth movement just a few years ago. He was 97 years old and still inspiring new movements. And he brought this huge, world-changing vision right down to a personal level. These are just a few of the commitments of an Earthist inspired by his work. They turn this big philosophy into a daily practice, a practice of reverence, of action, of building community, and of really trying to live these values. And all of this incredible lifetime of dedication, brings us right to this moment. On what would have been his 101st birthday, John B. Cobb Jr. is going to be posthumously honored as the very first recipient of this award, celebrating nearly a century of work for a living Earth. This dedication, written in his honor, I think it says it all. He planted seeds. He didn't just tear down the old world. He offered a vision for a new one, and he rooted it in spirit, science, and love. Now, I guess the task is up to us to help those seeds grow. So we end where he began, with a question that his life's work really poses to every single one of us. The Earth is calling. Will you answer?